Pranakasha live stream.
Hey folks, it's Matt at Pranakasha Productions, and today we are talking to Jann Erik, who's a musician that I met at kind of a fair. It was like a punk rock flea market or something like that in Capitol Hill.
Yeah, yep,
Yeah.
yeah. They do it pretty often. So this was the first time they did it at that location. Yeah,
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah,
Okay. And you were doing
yeah.
a solo set, so you were,
Mhm.
and those were your own original songs, right?
Yeah, I think I might have thrown in one cover, but for the most part, I do all my own stuff.
That's cool. And then, so your act is called the Phantom. What was it? The Phantom what?
The Phantom Pines.
The Phantom Pines. Okay.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, you got it. I am assuming there's like some kind of druid reference or something like that.
No, not necessarily. So just growing up around, around here, kind of outside of Seattle. Um,
Okay.
there's lots of trees all the time. I was just trying to get something that kind of like captured that like, Northwest spirit of like, the misty rain falling on the trees. But
Right.
it's not like it has any religious, significance or anything like that,
Okay.
for those who might be practicing druids or Wiccans or
Okay.
whatnot.
Yeah. So we don't have any actual expertise in that realm.
I have zero.
uh, that's cool. And yeah. So and then for people who don't live in Seattle, that's kind of what it's like. People say it rains in Seattle, but actually, more often than not, it sort of mists. We get this
Mhm.
really light rain, which is kind of half rain, half mist, which can be quite pleasant. There's lots
Yeah,
of
it's
fir trees and pine trees and other kinds of evergreens up here. So we have all those kind of Northwest spirits flying around. Yeah, that's cool. And and is your music always a solo type of thing, or do you sometimes have a full-blown band?
I haven't put together a band yet. It was something that I was thinking about doing initially, and that's why I have a band name that, or like a name that sounds like a band, because
Uh,
I had thought about it. And started writing songs, and then the pandemic happened, and I was like, oh well, I guess I'm doing this solo for a while. And then when the pandemic ended, I just started doing shows by myself, and
okay,
just kept on going with that. But something down the road, I've been trying to line up the right people.
right. Do you also play bass guitar?
I don't. If you listen to me on Spotify or whatever, you'll hear some bass on there. So I
Okay.
did for everything that I've got recorded. I did everything myself. So
Right. So you can multi-track it,
yeah,
and
exactly.
so you also play little keyboards too. Then
Yeah.
sounds like okay. Well, we can put a link to your Spotify or like, do you have SoundCloud or something like that or
I do have SoundCloud. I don't think most of my. I think I've got some demos up there, but as
okay,
far as my like more polished stuff, it's on Spotify,
okay,
Bandcamp.
and then
Actually,
how?
if you just thephantompines.com, it's pretty easy to find on the internet there, and
Oh,
then
okay. We can put a link to that. So phantompines.com,
yeah,
and then
thephantompines.com.
we can play some of your stuff off there. And then, do you have anything on YouTube as well, or
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. I think I've got just about all the songs, at least like not necessarily a video, but like a static image with most of my songs on there
okay?
on
Well, that's a
YouTube as
cool.
well.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's a great way to do it. So tons of people do it that way, and YouTube is kind of the place. Um, in fact, where did I put my phone? I could actually play. Okay, I'm gonna go grab my phone, and then I'll just cut this out. Okay, so there's that, and then I go to music.
yeah. If you go to videos, there should be a link to the YouTube um, right there.
Okay, and then which one should I play?
Let's see which one's easiest or good to find.
Oh, this looks interesting. If I should fall from grace with God, how's that? Is that a
Yeah,
good
that's
one?
a Shane MacGowan cover.
Okay.
Maybe you want to play an original like Valley of Dry Bones down here under the lyric videos. That would
The Valley of Dry Bones. Okay, let's try that.
Yes.
Okay, so let's listen to the Valley of Dry Bones.
I make my way through sunlit beams of shattered lives and broken dreams, and somehow think pain never left its mark. But later when the daytime fades, the demons enter on parade. The devils roar their dirges in the dark. Come, breath from the four winds, flow into the slain, so they can live again. Come, breath. At first I heard the rattled skulls that linked to spines and clavicles, and soon were joined by sinews, flesh and skin. Then rising from their shallow graves with sullen eyes of trauma slaves, an army of the dead walked home again. Come, breath from the four winds, flow into the slain, so they can live again. Come, breath. The valley floor was filled with blood that quickly turned the dirt to mud. And I lay down on the ground to watch the sky. I closed my eyes to take a rest, no beating heart, no breathing chest, and I slept until my bones had been blown dry. Come, breath from the four winds, flow into the slain, so they can live again. Come, breath from the four winds, flow into the slain, so they can live again. Come, breath.
All right, so that was cool. So, a little bit of Johnny Cash in there, a little bit of Doors, tiny bit, and then there's also a band that I know called Have you ever heard of I think it's called the Dead Poet Society, otherwise known as Gaia Consort.
No.
They're a local band that I've played with over the years. With Christopher Bingham has a little bit of that style too. So and I think what you did when you recorded that, you actually sang and played the guitar at the same time, right?
No, I did them separate. So
You
first
did?
I
Okay.
recorded, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. First I
Okay.
recorded the guitar and then sang over top of it.
Okay, and that's the usual way that you would do it.
Yeah.
with just separate tracks, and then you add a little bit of keyboards in there, and then
Yeah. So I think I usually, get the song kind of figured out, and then the drums and the bass and then the guitar,
right,
and then I'll put like the keyboard on top of that.
right. That's cool.
And then once it's all done, then I'll do the singing, so I know what everything kind of sounds like.
Right, and that's typically, I mean, usually when you record a pop song, you usually do the vocals last. I've done a lot of session work over the years, and that's pretty much the standard way to do it. So, did you actually do it in a studio, or just do it with your own equipment?
No, I did it at home. Most of the stuff that I started recording was during the pandemic, so I just did it at home.
Okay.
But it's a long, arduous process that
Right.
I might leave to the professionals moving forward.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can blow a lot of money really fast
Yeah.
at a studio and then end up having something that isn't that much better than what you could have done yourself. Or sometimes it's even worse because, you're trying to do it quickly because you're paying by the hour. Whereas if you do it by yourself, you can do as many takes as you want and get it just right. So it's
Yeah, the last song that I recorded, which you had mentioned, "If I Should Fall from Grace with God," that one I did all the recording myself and then passed it off to get mixed and mastered. So
yeah, okay, that's a possibility.
yeah,
Once you have all the separate tracks. And yeah, because mixing is a whole other art form all in itself.
yeah,
And it's a lot of times it's hard to mix your own stuff because you always end up having a really weird perspective on it. And then you'll think something sounds great, but then you listen to it a month later and you're like, what the hell was I thinking? It's like there's way too much guitar or there's not enough vocals or whatever. Then you end up
I think
redoing
with any kind of art, though, like, whether you're a painter or a singer or whatever, you're always going to look back at what you've done and been like, I don't know, there was like that thing or that thing that I didn't really like about it. But,
Yeah,
you got to put it into the world sometimes.
that's
So.
true. Yeah, you have to kind of let it go. And but for one thing, I like the chord progressions. Some of the stuff wasn't your typical pop type of stuff, like the da da ti. That was more of a classical type of romantic chord progression. The way you cadenced that, I thought that was cool. And overall, I was catching some of the lyrics. Of course, to tell you the truth, folks, I was listening to it on my phone, so I didn't hear a very good high quality version of it. But it's on it. I think it's cool. So, like, what was the genesis of this song?
It kind of started off in a weird place. So a friend of mine, another musician friend of mine, and I had set out to do some Christmas songs.
That's a
And,
Christmas song.
No, it didn't end up being a Christmas song. So
Like maybe a Christmas song by the Smiths. You ever remember that band?
yeah. I listen to them all the time.
Like their Unhappy Birthday.
Yeah.
Like a Merry
Yeah, it was,
Christmas. They were all gonna die, but Happy Christmas anyway, or whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely not a Christmas song where it ended up, but like I was, I was talking to him and I was like, oh, like it's Christmas, we should find something like weird in the Bible, and I ended up like with the Valley of Dry Bones is from.
Oh, there you go.
I can't remember where it was from, but
It's got to be somewhere in the Old Testament.
Yeah. And so we talked about doing like competing songs about that. His never really got finished, and then I had like extra time because we didn't have to hit the Christmas deadline, so it turned into just something totally different.
Yeah, and then you said you were Norwegian, right?
Yeah, my family is. So
Okay.
I was born in Seattle, grew up around Seattle.
Okay.
But my grandfather from Ballard, which for the people who are not from the Seattle area, Ballard is where all of the Scandinavians settled. And my grandfather didn't learn English until he went to elementary school, so he just spoke Norwegian in the home. Yeah.
Because the reason I was getting at that is having Norwegian roots. If you're aware of the Norwegian composer Grieg.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in Norway last year and went to go visit his house.
Oh, cool.
Why can't I think of the name of the the city right now. Bergen. It's outside of
Yeah.
Bergen.
So he's got a lot of populars like da 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 dun da da dun da da dun da 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 da. I think that's called and isn't that called like the Valley of the
It's the Hall of the Mountain King?
Hall of the Mountain King, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's written a lot of music that's got that kind of similar kind of ethos that the song we just heard has, you know. So there's some influence there too, I think.
I was talking to a music producer when I was trying to figure out if I was going to record or pass off some stuff, and he was from Germany, and he had asked me if I was Norwegian, and I told him no, and he's like, it's really weird because all of the people, even if they're in the United States, but they're like of Scandinavian descent, they write all these dark songs. So I guess it's something in the genes.
Yeah, you're the Viking blood. Yeah. Oh, that's neat. So, like, well, just could you tell us like what the song is about, like the basic story of the song that we just heard?
Yeah. So the song, I paused because I haven't really like described the song, and it feels a little personal. But I was, and of course, people can take whatever they want from the song, whatever whatever sounds good to them. But I was in the military from 2001 to 2008. Had a couple of times where I was in Iraq during that time, and
Air Force,
yeah.
Yep.
And
what branch were you in?
I was in the Army.
Okay.
I was in the Army. Yeah. And a lot of times, I'd just have this feeling like, I had friends that didn't come back, and I'd be like maybe I didn't come back either. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie, what is it, Jacob's Ladder?
No.
So it's a movie about like he starts having like hallucinations, and but it turns out that he had been in Vietnam, and this is like years later, and he starts having hallucinations, and it turns out that he had, when the movie ends, that he had died over in Vietnam, and the whole premise of the movie was just like a hallucination on his deathbed.
Oh wow.
And so that was kind of like, but that's always like, it was a movie I liked growing up. So ever since I came back, like I always kind of like had that feeling like, what if like everything I'm going through is like, is not real? And so.
Did you see any action while you were over there?
I got shot at.
Oh,
more times than I can count. I never fired my weapon, but I've been shot at more times than I can count.
Okay, and then of course you always were living in fear of driving over a IED.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I was in the Air National Guard, and my unit got activated, but we never got deployed. But we thought we were going to go to Kosovo, but it never actually happened. So, lucky for me, I didn't actually get to see any action. But so, what was it like the very first combat experience you had when there was actual live fire going in your direction? What was that like?
It was the very first day. It was the very first day in Iraq.
Oh wow!
Yeah, or actually, maybe not the very first day. It was like we had driven into Baghdad one day, and then like the next day we were supposed to go to where my unit was actually going to be headquartered, and we were driving under an overpass, and at the time people were like dropping grenades and stuff from overpasses into convoys.
And you were like in a Humvee, or what kind of vehicle were you in?
Yeah, I was in a Humvee.
Okay.
So it's a whole convoy of Humvees, and so what they had taught us to do was when you're going under an overpass to like switch, different ways to turn different directions as you come out of the overpass, so they couldn't drop grenades into you, like so that they wouldn't know where you were coming out. And we went under an overpass, and the vehicle behind me, they were pulling a trailer. So when they like veered off, the trailer flipped, and they crashed into a guardrail. And then like
Oh shit.
just over like at the building, like it was totally opportunistic, but the building like that was right next to us, next to the guardrail, someone was just like looking for a convoy, so it started, firing up our convoy, and so we had to get, under fire. We're like, trying to. Oh, and one of the people in the vehicle behind us got ejected from the car, so we
Oh
were
shit.
like trying to scramble to like get him in, and get everyone out of there.
Huh.
Yeah, and that was like so that was basically the first full day in
Wow. And you guys were
Iraq.
returning fire too, right?
Not my vehicle was not. We were trying to help out the vehicle behind us and
Uh-huh.
kind of keep like control of the situation.
Uh-huh.
But others were, yeah,
Basically, suppressive fire type of thing.
yeah, just to be able to get out of there. Yeah,
Yeah. Huh. Wow. Very first day. So that was.
it wasn't always like that, obviously, but it set a bad stage.
Oh yeah. So most of the time you would just stay on base, or what was like your mission?
I was the Arabic translator when I was in, so a
Okay.
lot of the work that I did was on base. There were some times when I would get off base to do translation for this or that, but for the most part, it was on base.
Okay. So you were intel.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. But you still had to have combat training and all that stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Did you actually know, like, if you had to, could you fight just like a normal infantry guy?
No, no,
Okay.
no. I mean, with some of the training that we did, my um, platoon leader had been in an infantry unit before he came to military intelligence, and
Okay.
so he had us working pretty closely with an infantry unit before we deployed. But no, I could follow along, but I would have been
Too
I
useful.
would have been no good at like yeah they wouldn't have wanted me, not enough like hands-on
Right.
training.
That sounds like what we in the Air Force, like we spent a day learning how to take apart and put back together an M16 and go shoot it on a firing range. And like I was actually pretty good at it, so I got marksman. But that was all the training we got. Like we didn't learn how to do any kind of tactics, like how to do any kind of suppressive fire or anything that you would actually do in a real firefight. So, and they always
Well,
told us,
we learned how to do it, but practice makes perfect, and
right?
in Intel, you just don't get the same level of practice as the infantry people who are doing it all the time.
Yeah, we didn't learn any of that. So, like when we were actually realizing we were going to the theater, they basically said, well, if you find yourself in combat, just sit, duck, and cover, and get the hell out of there if you can, and let the Army and the Marines do the fighting, because you guys don't know, the Air Force doesn't know how to do any of that stuff. So that was basically our training. And then we saw a PowerPoint video on how to dig a foxhole. Luckily, in an Air Guard unit like I had, there were a bunch of guys that were ex-Marines or ex-Army. So they took it upon themselves to actually teach us how to do some of this stuff, you know. So, and then we were all like, okay, so we'll rely on you if we get in a real fight. And they're like, yeah, cool. I mean, I even had a couple guys in my unit that were snipers and had done and seen a lot of action. So they were, or obviously if they were snipers, they're kind of crazy in the head, because of what you have to deal with.
No, maybe.
Basically, yeah. Anyway, so there was all kinds of
Seems
people in my
like
unit.
it seems like learning how to stack sandbags would have been more useful than learning how to dig a foxhole.
Yeah, well, we actually did dig a pretty fancy embankment in the back lot of our unit where it had sandbags and it was dug in and it had like a metal plate on the top of it. It had a little trough where you could throw hand grenades in, and it even had like a screen across a little slit in the front to keep hand grenades from coming in. It was like pretty fancy embankment, or what would you call it? Not embankment, fortification. There's some other name for besides this foxhole. But it was pretty fancy. That's because one of the guys who was a Marine showed us how to do it. But, yeah. Anyhow, So basically, you only came under harm's way when you had to be transported from one place to another, it sounds like.
Yes and no. I mean, uh, the base I was at was kind of at the edge of where you didn't want to be, so we would get bombed pretty much every day there.
Like mortars or something, or?
Mortars and RPGs. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Huh.
So it was kind of, kind of a constant medium level stress, I would
Wow.
say.
So once the mortar fire started coming in, everybody would just duck into the fortifications? Or what would you
Uh,
do?
just so we were like on uh, it was the old Khabarat, like the old domestic intelligence facility,
Uh-huh.
like the Iraqi domestic intelligence facility. So that had been cleared out. So, something came in, like we would just go into the buildings or, one of the buildings that was around that facility.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have to worry about snipers?
Not really. I don't really remember like worrying too much about snipers. Yeah, it was mostly just people launching mortars or RPGs into the camp.
Okay. So it sounds like they're mostly doing that just to basically harass you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just like it was like this constant unpredictable thing that was just like kind of like constantly going on.
Huh. Wow. Yeah, well that'll mess with your sleep. Wow. Okay, so this song is kind of about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Interesting. Whew. Well, right there. So I couldn't hear most of the lyrics, so I don't know if you could you recite what the lyrics were or give us a gist exactly what you were saying?
Yeah, it's like mostly it's, like my life is, pretty darn good now, but when at the end of the day, like, when memories start coming back, start thinking about like what had happened in the past, and then, kind of thinking about uh uh the other people who came back. So there's like an element of like um PTSD coming back.
Okay.
There's an army of the dead. Uh,
Okay.
uh, yeah, I
Would you say that you have PTSD, do you think?
think I probably did. Through time, things have kind of evened out. So
Okay. And that was how long ago was that? Like 20 years ago?
yeah, I guess so. I was there from oh 04 to oh 06, and
Okay, yeah.
then or oh 04 to oh 05, and then oh 06 to oh 08.
Woo. So you did two tours.
Yeah.
Was that voluntary, the second one?
Nope, it sure was not.
So you just got called back.
I signed up for 5 years, and if I had joined the Army 3 days earlier, I would have had to do that second deployment. But they stop lost my unit, and my cutoff was 3 days,
Yeah.
and then so
Yeah.
I was in the Army for another 2 years.
Yeah. So stop loss is a thing that the military does sometimes where they won't let people discharge and they'll just automatically extend your service because there's a war going on or something like that, and it's basically you have to stay, and
Yeah.
your original
I,
contract is modified.
yeah, I
Yeah.
joined. I joined in August of 2001. And when I joined, they said, "Oh, this is never like no one ever uses this. But like, don't worry about this.
Yeah, they
This
always say
thing is in
that.
contract." And
Yeah.
it was August of 2001, and then so I was like in basic training when 9/11 happened, and I was like, "Oh, shit's about to be really
Right.
different than I thought it would be."
Yeah. Now it's good. Now we have an excuse to now bomb the hell out of whoever we want. That's the first thing that came in my mind. The moment I saw those buildings on fire, I'm like, okay, so now Bush has the excuse to just start dropping bombs on anybody he wants in
Yeah,
retaliation. So,
I didn't even believe it because I was in basic training, so I thought it was just like a mind trick that they were trying to play on everyone.
wow.
So I didn't even believe it for a couple of days.
Oh, wow, that long. Wow.
Yeah, well, so I was the first person to be called out. Like when it happened, um, me and another guy were called out to guard the entrance to like our unit building. So we were just, they were like, they bombed the World Trade Center, they bombed the Pentagon, they blew up the White House. I'm like,
Yeah,
please, that
right.
didn't happen. And they're like, go guard this thing. So I wasn't there when all of the people from, the East Coast were calling home to like check on their family members and stuff like that. Like I
Mm,
missed all of that. I was just
wow.
like out there guarding a driveway for hours until they remembered that I was there. Uh, so I missed all of that chaos. I was like, this is not real. So,
Wow. And where do they do Army basic training?
I did it at Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Okay.
There's a couple different places people can do it depending on your job.
Okay. Yeah, mine was in Lackland, Texas, San Antonio.
Yep.
That's the big Air
My
Force
dad
base
was
where
in the
they.
Air Force, and
Okay.
he went. That's where he had his basic training.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, crazy. Wow. And are all your songs based on this kind of stuff, would you say, or is this one unique?
no. I think that one's the only one that's really about like the army or anything. I do have one that I sometimes perform live, but not that I've recorded. All of my songs are pretty dark, but
Huh.
they're not all about that particular set of experiences. Like, I've I'm I'm an old man. I've got plenty of things to
You're
be.
not that old. You're not that old, I guarantee you. So, um, and then do you always wear black, or is that just for today?
Um, I wear black. I don't know. I wear a lot of black, and I wear a lot of like black band T-shirts, and I wear a lot of flannel shirts, just like everyone in the Northwest. I wear a lot of
Right.
flannel shirts.
I don't wear flannel shirts.
What? You got to layer, man.
No, I
It's
gave
the
up on
best way to
that.
layer.
I have a whole I have a whole closet full of internet shirts that are all kind of crazy shirts that I've decided to wear instead, and then Star Trek stuff and all that. But no more flannel. It's too boring. Huh. But yeah. So why do you think all your songs are always dark? Like, is it just that's your catharsis, or is that
Yeah,
who
I
you
think a bit of
are,
it
or
is
what?
a bit of it is the catharsis, a bit of it, but a lot of it too is just like I'm not really a big fan of happy songs, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to make the songs that I would want to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's really kind of what it boils down to. I'm making the songs that I would want to hear, and I guess they're darker, but the catharsis is like I think it's a big part of it. Like being able to just kind of like get that thought that you have like rattling, especially like this song is a perfect example. Like, just that like that nagging thing that you've got in your head and just being able to like turn it into words.
Mm-hmm.
And then like and it's kind of like for this song specifically and a few of my others, it's like you can take that feeling and you can like compartmentalize it and it's like it's this like contained thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it only comes out when I sing the song.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have it like rattling around my brain but when I like perform it and I'm performing the song, that's when I'm like
Me experiencing it.
feeling that thing and letting it out. So
Yeah, because I have a friend who suffers from PTSD, and what she was telling me is um, that it's very common that your brain, that one of the ways that your brain deals with the trauma is that it wants to keep re-experiencing it. And so you keep going back and getting drawn to things that trigger it and make you relive it again. And so I don't know if for you, composing and performing these songs is sort of like that.
yeah, no, I wouldn't say that I like necessarily feel like I'm there or back or anything. It's just like more of like kind of bundling up the feeling in general.
Okay.
And yeah, like if there's lots of people that that I know or that I know of that have more of that kind of like persistent memory type thing that they're, wakes them up at night. But I never really had that. But, maybe that's because like I was saying, for me, a lot of it, that first day was kind of like this like weird kind of like, traumatic thing. And, as I said, I've been shot at more times than I can count. But like, I think the biggest thing was what I was saying is just the randomness of just like walking around on base, and there were always like, they'd be mortars and RPGs, and it's kind of like that, like just that like constant stress,
Right.
So it's like hard to like pin down to one specific time that was like particularly traumatic.
Right. Yeah. Well, maybe we should listen to another song. So let me pull this up. Let's see if we can. Okay, come on. Back. Not covers. We want lyric videos. How about Where the Ditches Have Names? Is that a good one?
Sure. I think some people some people told me they like The Road from Santa Cruz because it's one of my few songs that are in a major key. So that's under the official audio down there.
The Road from Santa Cruz. Okay, let's try it.
Meet me outside that Laurel house. Lord, I haven't seen your face in ages now. We'll laugh as our smoke floats into the skies and stumble in the dark when the music dies. There's whiskey for cheap down on Ocean Street. Oh, you can have 5 and I can have 3, and I'll hitch home alone when the bottle's dry, looking back in the mirror as I leave you behind. The road from Santa Cruz is lined with memories of you and all of those better days that now are so far away. The road from Santa Cruz is paved with black eyes and bruises. Where am I headed now? I wish I could have stayed somehow. My bed is hard and it stinks of sweat, and I'll spin alone till my brain goes black. And in the morning when the day breaks, I'll feel headaches and heartaches. The road from Santa Cruz is lined with memories of you and all of those better days that now are so far away. The road from Santa Cruz is paved with black eyes and bruises. Where am I headed now? I wish I could have stayed somehow. Let know it's such a long road, and I know that there's no going back. No, there's no going back. The road from Santa Cruz is lined with memories of you and all of those better days that now are so far away. The road from Santa Cruz is paved with black eyes and bruises. Where am I headed now? I wish I could have stayed somehow.
Okay, I really like that song. There's really interesting harmonies in it, and I really like what you did. So, like, have you taken like music theory or done like music classes or anything like that?
No, I mean, I've read books. That's
Okay.
about it. Yeah.
What I like
No.
about it is that it does some really interesting twists and turns in it. And like you said, it was in a major key, but I mean, it has so many different nods into different modes and stuff that if I heard the song, I wouldn't say, "Oh, that's in a major key." But
Maybe I just don't. Maybe I just don't know the theory of it well enough. But I think. I mean, I think it's in C major. But
yeah, it probably is. I mean, but it uses a lot of different passing chords and stuff like that that are really cool. So like a song like that, I mean, if I listen to it and I'm already thinking like how I would produce it. Like there's ways that I would really enhance a lot of things. Like I would want to like put in backup vocals and add some strings to it and do a lot of things to make it more poppy in a sense, but it would also just really bring out all those little dramatic elements because there's actually a lot going on in it. So like, I mean, did you ever think about, using GarageBand or something like that and really producing it a lot more elaborately, a song like this, or?
I mean, I'm using Logic to record.
Okay.
I'm using Logic to record the stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm limited by my experience and both from a technical perspective, in like putting together the songs, and also from like an experience perspective of like you were saying as a producer, like I've got whatever my vision of the song is, but like I've only worked on my songs. I haven't worked on other people's songs or seen how other things could fit together in that, or thought about what other things I could do to make the enhance how the song could come out. But that's that's another reason for maybe passing it on to the professionals, as I was saying before.
Well, it's always a learning process too, so like you said you had a friend that you collaborated with, so you were like passing songs back and forth, or who was that person?
Oh, no, this was a producer guy that I was just kind of discussing if like I should keep doing stuff at home, or if I should like go to an actual
do stuff in the studio. Yeah. Well, you can still do a whole lot at home. Yeah. Again, I was just listening to it on my phone, so I couldn't hear the real version. So all I really heard was vocals and guitar. I don't know, was there a bass guitar in there?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't hear it at all, but that's because it was on my phone. Interesting. Yeah. I really liked it, actually. I mean, I could hear a lot of ways. Like for example, the Smiths. As their albums progress, some people felt like they were becoming too poppy as they got more and more produced, their songs, But I mean, if you listen to even like bands like Soundgarden or whatever, or even a grunge band, if you listen close, there's a lot in there. There's like strings, and there's all kinds of basically pop elements that their producers encourage them to experiment with, and there's a way to do it that still fits the genre of what you create. If you do it well, it'll really enhance your song rather than making it sound like something that you don't want it to sound like. But yeah. It all depends what you want to do with it. I mean, if you want to spend a whole lot of time just really taking one song and just doing a ton with it, or if you just want to rather spend that time writing another song, is the question. But yeah, I really like it. I think it has a lot of potential. I mean, I like it as it is. It has kind of an unplugged sort of sound as it is, but because the harmonic structure is really interesting to me, that allows you to there's a lot of things you could do with it. Like if my band covered it, for example, it would be fun to hear what a 50s and 60s sort of jazzy band would do with a song like that, And yeah, I like it. I think there's a lot to it. I think it's got a lot of potential in it. So, well, let's talk about it a little bit. So this song, what's this basic story behind this song?
Yeah, this song is like another army thing, but it's not like necessarily the army. So I was stationed in Monterey, California,
Okay.
which I don't know if you know Monterey, but it's um, like a tourist town primarily. That just
Oh,
happens to have.
in fact, I have a friend that lives there, but I don't think I've ever been there. And it's sort of in the interior of California, right?
No, it's on the coast. It's south
Oh,
of
it
San
is. Okay.
Francisco. Yeah, yeah.
How close is it to LA?
Um, Pretty far. I mean,
Okay.
it's like a couple hours south of San Francisco. So
Okay, so it's between San Francisco
actually,
and LA.
actually, speaking of Star Trek, it's where they did some of the filming for Star Trek 4.
Oh, really?
So yeah,
The whales one.
yeah, the whales.
Cool.
But yeah, so I was in the language school for the military is in Monterey, California.
Okay.
So it's like, but it's mostly a tourist town there.
Mhm.
And like, I wasn't like a good, I wasn't a good cultural fit for the army. Like, it was fine. I could get along with everyone, but I was like not your typical guy in the army.
Well, you were in
But on the
Intel,
week,
so what do you expect?
yeah.
So,
Well, even within Intel, I was kind of weird.
okay.
Some guy from Seattle who like listens to too much like indie and punk music, and everyone's like, just because I don't know the same band as you doesn't mean like there's something wrong with me. Took some growing to realize that they were right about that. But uh, on the weekends, the city of Santa Cruz was only like 45 minutes away,
Okay.
and like I would always go to Santa Cruz to just like go hang out at bars, go see shows. There was a cool punk house that a lot of my friends, as they were traveling from San Francisco like down to Los Angeles on tour, they would like stop in Santa Cruz, so I'd get to see all my friends like coming down from Seattle at this punk house. Um, but then I always had at the end of the night, like I always had to go back, or at the end of the weekend, I always had to go back. So this is like a song about, being where I should have been, and then like having to go
Go
and like being
back.
ripped apart from where I should, like where I feel like I need to be, into some place that I didn't really fit anymore.
That's cool. Okay. So, so as far as your audience, you're trying to market your music, have you thought about targeting it to like ex-military people or stuff like that?
No, no, no. I mean, like, there's some people that I know, like, kind of within, like, the dark folk kind of genre um, that were in the military and, have, some, some similarity to my experiences, like, again, like you were talking about me being an intel, but, there's people like were infantry or comms and stuff like that. So our experiences are all pretty different. But there is like, there's some people that are within like kind of my musical genre that have those experiences. But I think like, I don't know. As I said, like I was not really, I don't know. I don't want to. I don't want to talk like specifically to the military. I think, that's a part of my history, but it's not like necessarily a part of like my personality. I don't
All that
know.
you
I don't know
are.
if that makes sense.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Same with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I still hang out with a lot of my Air Force buddies, even though I was in for 6 years, so I was out by 2004, which is 20 years ago. And I still kind of identify with it, but I mean, it's not the entire part of Star Trek's way more part of my personality than the Air Force is. So,
Yeah, I would say that Star
but
Trek's even more of my personality
yeah,
than the military is.
yeah, that's cool. Well, let's listen to one more song, and then after that, we can kind of wrap it up. So what's our final song here? What do you recommend?
Maybe always something wicked.
Okay, that was in the lyric ones, right?
Yeah.
There it is.
Another daytime drifts its way to shadows, so I try to find some refuge in dim lights. Blended into crowds of swans and swallows, hiding myself nameless in plain sight. There's no feeling when the juniper hits my lips. Then it courses all the way to my heart. And the faces that I see have turned and twisted, so I make my way again into the dark. 'Cause there's always something wicked on the inside, always something that I need to hide, always something wicked on the inside. Oh, dark and vile. So I crawl into a church to find redemption, and to beg the man that's hanging there on high. Oh, please will you cure me this affliction? But his eyes are always turned off to the side. 'Cause there's always something wicked on the inside, always something that I need to hide, always something wicked on the inside. Oh, dark and vile. He who's bathed in black, please let me go. He who's bathed in black, please let me go. 'Cause there's always something wicked on the inside, always something that I need to hide, always something wicked on the inside. Oh, dark and vile. Oh, dark and vile.
Okay. So that one I could hear all the lyrics. So I was particularly struck by the part. So you're like Catholic, ex-Catholic, or?
No, I'm not ex-Catholic, but
Okay, because there was a reference to going to church and seeing Jesus hanging on the cross. And I think Catholics is the only one where you actually have Jesus on the cross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a little bit of poetic license, I guess.
That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. I thought it was good. And then what you said was, let's see, you wanted redemption, but then he was like looking to the side, like he wasn't paying attention to you. So, yeah, so And then the idea that we're all sinners, and we have to be redeemed. That's sort of the gist of the song, that we're all got evil inside type of thing. So
I don't know about most people, but I feel like a little something that's just not right. I don't
okay.
know. Like, I don't know. Some people have reached out to me, and said that like they've got that feeling too, and thanked me, for like putting stuff out there that resonates with them. So like
Right.
that's pretty meaningful, to hear that kind of critique. But yeah, it's like, I don't know, maybe there's just like some of us that just feel like, there's just something
Something's wrong.
something's wrong, and
Well, I
it
felt
can't be
like
helped,
that
I
for
guess.
decades, even though I was doing lots of meditation. And then finally I did a fair amount of therapy and got through most of that stuff. So I think I think that's part of the normal human experience, is to feel like there's something wrong with you. And like sometimes what's causing you to feel bad. Other times you just feel bad and you can't really figure out why.
Yeah.
And that's where it's just all subconscious.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
this song too is another another one of those ones where it's just like, being like able to package that
Right.
song up, or package that feeling up, and like, it just comes out while I'm singing the song. It's
Compartmentalize
like,
it. Yeah.
compartmentalize it. Yeah, and like it's like not it's weird because this song is like specifically, like there's specific locations that I'm thinking. Well, the last song, that there's specific locations as well, but this one, like, um there's specific locations that I'm talking about. So like at the bar, like the bar that I'm talking about is the Tin Hat in Ballard, and
Okay.
I used to go there all the time, and then like it started getting flooded with more kind of got just feeling gentrified, I guess, is the best way to put it. And like a different clientele moving into there, and I just remember like sitting at the bar and just like getting angry and angrier, and then having to just like leave the bar, just because
Wow.
like I just couldn't handle the people and the way the people were acting.
Right.
And then so at the time I lived like just
So
down the street
gentrified. So
from.
you mean like, like people that are working at Amazon or whatever are moving into town, and it's
Yeah,
just a totally different
yes.
crowd type.
Yeah, yeah, it was like it's been expensive for a long time, but yeah, just like a
Right.
different crowd than used to
Yeah.
be in there. And at the time, I was living down the street from there,
Uh-huh.
which so on my way home, I would always pass a church, So there's a specific church that like
Okay. What's the cross street? Because I might even know what that church is.
it's on
Is it on
it's on
Market?
65th, but no, it's not. It's before. No, it's like 65th, but
Yeah.
I'd have to look it up on my phone to see what the cross
65th.
street
Yeah, I
is.
think I know what church
Maybe
you're talking about.
maybe.
Like 65th and like a little bit past 15th, like
Yeah.
maybe 17th and 65th, somewhere around there.
No, the other side. The other side.
Okay.
So like just down, if you know like Tin Hat, there's Tin Hat, and then there's like Ballard High School, and it's like right
Yeah.
around here.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, that way.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I know what that church is too. Yeah. My mom used to live in Ballard, so I kind of know that area pretty well. Yeah, woo. So all the rich professional high techies started taking over Ballard. It was kind of what that song was about.
No, that was just, I guess, more of the setting
Okay.
than the actual like what the song was about. The song's more about like my reaction to that.
Okay.
My reaction to it than the change itself. Like
Interesting.
I've got no particular ill will against those people, except that I can't afford a house in Ballard.
Right. I mean, yeah, who can? That's why I live in Linwood.
Okay.
Houses cost a lot less up here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, for that song, I really got sucked into the lyrics And partly because the harmonic structure was a lot simpler and a lot closer to a typical folk or pop song. So maybe that's why my mind went more to the lyrics in that song. So, but I liked it. I liked all the arpeggiations in the guitar. And then the way you moved around, to different chords was kind of cool. Of course, the lyrics. Yeah. Yeah, very heartfelt. So that, again, I was listening on my phone. So did you have any strings or keyboard pads in there at all?
No, there's no strings on that one. So
Okay.
there's a second guitar, or actually there's two other guitars. There's another.
There's three guitar tracks?
There's the regular acoustic guitar that does the arpeggios, and then there's an acoustic guitar that does full chords. I think there's an electric guitar. I'd have to go back and listen to it. I think there is an electric guitar in that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I could easily hear it's just some really simple string pads, like on the second verse or something, and it could be mixed way back, so it's just sort of an atmospheric thing that you would add a little bit just to give it a little bit more flavor second time around or stuff like that would fit that song. Yeah, that's cool. All right, well, let's wrap it up. So good stuff. So we're going to send everybody to various links. So for sure, you go to this YouTube channel and you can listen to the songs we just listened to, and also there's a lot more there, and as well as some covers, right? And demos.
Yeah, the YouTube has got some covers and demos. Yep.
Yeah. Very good. And that was the Phantom Pines, right?
Yes, the Phantom Pines.
Phantom Pines. And it's actually Jann's goat doll, but you're more well known as Jann Erik.
Yeah.
As in generic.
As in generic. Someone pointed that out when I was like in junior high, and I went to my parents, and they were like, "Oh, we never realized it." Yeah, my parents named me Jann Erik.
Generic white guy.
Yeah, that's me.
From Norway.
Yeah.
I know from Ballard.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right, and then so where else could we find you playing? Like on your website, does it like have a calendar where you do
it should
gigs
have
and stuff?
It should have a calendar. Right now, I think the next show that I've got coming up is not on there, but it's in Bremerton. I don't have any for the rest of the month, but I'll be playing in Bremerton and Tacoma, and I'm playing a festival in Cleellum in September, and I'm trying to get more Seattle dates, up.
Great.
And
anything at Bumbershoot or anything like that, or Folk Life?
Oh, I did the Folk Life digital the digital show this year. So they had a video camera. Got that. So I don't know if that's still available on the website, but they might be able to find that full performance there.
Okay.
Like on the Bumbershoot website for this last year.
Cool.
Or not Bumbershoot, sorry, Folk Life.
All right. And then how long have you in this capacity been producing songs? I guess you said you started during the pandemic?
Yes, I put together some demos right before the pandemic.
Okay.
I put together the demos right before the pandemic, and then started putting out like the songs on Spotify and wherever else you might stream music. Started putting those out during the pandemic.
Okay, so you're a relatively new band then.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on you and see how you ascend. Of course, these days the music scene is so different than it used to be. Mm-hmm. So now it's just there's so much stuff out there, and there's like the idea of ever making it big anymore just doesn't really exist. Unless you're created, basically you're created by a record company and they have a specific track for you.
That was always kind of the case, though, right? I think of the bands that I thought were big and more of like the indie scene when I was growing up, and they still had their side gigs that they were doing.
Yeah.
Between their tours, so it's not like I've got some friends who are still pretty like mad at the music scene, but I've got other friends that are like, it's never been easier to be able to get your music out there and be heard than it is now. You know,
That's true. But you can't make any money at it. The only way you make money is at live shows. But what I found out, though, is that was quite a bit the case even back when people sold CDs. I think the average deal was you might get, like the whole crew might get 10% of the sale of a CD, and then the producer got half. And then you had to pay off the hundreds of thousands of dollars that you spent at the recording studio. So in the end, you made nothing off the CDs. And basically the only way to make money was to tour.
I don't remember the name of the band, but there was a breakdown of like how much this certain band was making. This would have been before Spotify. Can't remember the name of the band, but it was like a breakdown of how much people make. And they were saying like, and this is like, wouldn't have been like an arena tour, but like, you know, like large capacity venues. And it was like a 5-piece band. They were saying like, oh, you know, the label takes this much, you know, and then the band's left with this much, but they have to divide it between 5 members. So you're looking at this touring band, you know, that's doing super high capacity venues, and each of them was taking home like $60,000 a year. But I can't remember the name of the band, but it was one of the big ones. So
yeah. So even then, when you made it big, you're still,
when you made it, you still didn't make it.
You still were making about as much as somebody at a normal job.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, but sadly, it's about 10 times worse for actors. So you'd be amazed how little actors get paid. And like even people that are on regulars on TV shows or guest stars on really well-known TV shows, they still are just barely scraping by.
I've heard that's getting worse with the residuals, like on Netflix and stuff. Now that they're not like doing the syndication issue, or the syndication deal.
Yeah, it's a lot less. Well, it's the same thing as what's in the music scene. So now you can stream whatever you want. So there's no incentive to want to buy CDs anymore. So now you don't even get any of that revenue anymore. You just get like a half a cent or a tenth of a cent per stream, if that.
So here's where I will encourage everyone who's watching this to stream my songs 10,000 times.
Right. Or just donate to his PayPal or Patreon or whatever if you have something like that. That's the other way to do it. Or see him live, or be sure if you see him playing live, throw some money, 5, 10, 20 into the music case and support the arts.
I do have some albums available if anyone's interested. I do have CDs for sale on the Bandcamp as well. Yeah.
And you probably, if it's like my experience, you sell the most CDs right there on the street. That's when people want to buy them, right in the heat of the moment. So, yeah. It's fun though. I mean, as the trick is, like you said, is to be an artist, but also have some kind of side gig that helps pay the bills. You know, so you can still do the fun stuff, which is your art. Yeah, that's cool.
That, you know, you're less constrained to like what you create than to, you know, like I can do whatever I want. You know? And if I want to do something that people like, I can do that. And if I want to make something that people don't like, I can do that too, and not have to worry that everyone's gonna, or that I'll be able to eat at the end of the night.
But you're not going to starve if nobody likes your next song that comes out.
Yeah.
Which is that kind of freedom is actually really important, because I know what it's like. There was a time when I was a full-time musician. And I wasn't making hardly any money, but what I realized one day is that I would basically do any gig I got that paid. And then I wasn't getting that much money, and I realized, you know, this is stupid. I should just go do computers or something and do music on the side. And that's why I went into the Air Force, is to kind of jumpstart my computer career. And it worked. I mean, nowadays my day job is an IT guy, and it pays good, and it's got good health benefits and stuff, and I still figure out how to manage my schedule so I can do all kinds of music stuff and all kinds of Star Trek stuff and all this that takes money to do it. But same thing. I'm not doing it for money, so I have the freedom to do whatever I want, whether people like it or not. At least I'm being true to my own idea of what creativity is. So I think that really is the best situation, is to either have a side gig or be lucky enough to be independently wealthy or have rich parents or whatever, or a relative that dies and gives you a big inheritance so that you are free.
I've been trying to be a trust fund baby for years, and it still hasn't worked out.
So anyway, there's lots of different ways to do it. All right, well, it's been a pleasure. So everybody, check out the links down here, and then go to your live shows. Throw lots of cash and or Venmo into the guitar case.
I'll accept smiling faces also.
Smiling faces, yeah. Yeah, or free drinks, free food, and so on. That's great. Well, okay, so since I'm a Star Trek guy, I always end the show with "Live long and prosper." Very good. All right, my friend. May we meet again, hopefully in Ballard somewhere, and on the internet and so on.
Fantastic creations emerging spontaneously from the space of life. For the benefit of all beings everywhere. We gotta